Hey everybody, long time no see. Corey here coming at you with another knife review. This time it is the CH Knives Emperor. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I try to buy a new knife every month. Don't tell my wife. So this is a knife I've been really excited to review, and I told myself I'd wait a month between reviews, and that's why this one took so long. But honestly, this knife, I'll tell you right now, this knife is currently my favorite knife. This is my favorite knife that I own. It is not the most expensive knife that I own. We'll get into that, but oh boy, this thing is just so impressive. So let's start out with the bad, in my opinion. The first thing that I noticed right off the bat that I wasn't a fan of was this thumb stud. Now, this thumb stud is it's very pretty. If you're into that, it's pink and it's got this this kind of pink and blue thing going on here. But the reason that I'm not necessarily a fan of it is because it seems to be positioned in such a way that if you're familiar with like the CRKT CEO, you've really got to hit it at the perfect angle or else it's not going to go anywhere. And that itself isn't necessarily a problem to me. You know, it's something that you just get used to when you use the knife. However, what is a problem to me is how sharp this thumb stud is. This thumb stud is so sharp, I can scrape my nail with it, and I can get some bits of nail off there. I mean, it's pretty sharp. It's never sliced my finger, but when you fail the flip with the thumb stud, it is extremely uncomfortable. I mean, it really gouges up your thumb if you fail. And I just did it, and you know what? I'm not going to do it again because I do not miss that at all. That is... Okay, and one other thing. If you're not expecting it... Gosh, it's so hard to see. I almost can't even show it. There is the slightest recurve. The ever so slightest recurve right about here. And you can actually see, excuse my gnarly looking thumbnail, you can actually see a weird kind of mark in the blade right there. Yeah, that's because when I was sharpening this thing, I didn't realize that there was a very tiny curve right there. And I couldn't quite figure out why it wasn't sharpening the same way the rest of the knife was sharpening. And I ended up basically grinding a hole or a deeper spot in the knife there because I didn't realize that it was recurved. It's so slight that it's almost impossible to even show you. You can kind of see it right there. But that's not making a statement about, hey, if you like recurve, this is good. If you don't like recurve, this is bad. What I don't like is that it's so slight that, in my opinion, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose. All it did for me was mess up my sharpening job. It really threw me off. And you can actually see I was trying to work so hard on it that I ended up grinding into the blade, and I had to make it symmetrical on both sides here, and I didn't really mean to do that. But that was all from that tiny bit of recurve that messed up my sharpening. So now that you know about it, if you get this knife, you can pay attention to that, and hopefully it doesn't mess with you the same way that it messed with me. That is all I've got for the bad here. Let's talk about the good. So what you're getting in this knife is a full titanium knife with some Mokuti inlays. Well, here, let's polish them up for you. We'll call them Mokuti, Timascus. You call it what you want. I forget. One of those is like a patented thing, so they, you know, whatever. Anyhow, you get that. That is not something you see on knives in this price range. By the way, you can get this knife for about 150 bucks at whitemountainKnives.com. They almost always run a 10% coupon code. I have a 10% coupon code. I'll link it in the description. So you can effectively get this knife for $135 at any time. They also sell a silver version of this, a silver titanium version, but I went with the brass because it's, to me, it's just absolutely beautiful to me. What else are you getting? You're getting S35vn Steel, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I don't know, is that really S35vn? Never heard of this company before. There you go, S35vn. If you go to Love Them Knives, Love Them Knives is another knife YouTuber. He does a lot of reviews, but what he also does is he actually tests these knives, or he has people who test these knives to make sure that they actually check out for the steel that they claim to be. And the CH knives have checked out multiple times on his channel. So, what are we looking at here? We're looking at titanium, and we're looking at S35vn for 135 bucks. That is really, really, really good. Oh, and Mokuti, right? You don't start seeing Mokuti on knives until you start getting to like 300 bucks. The Mokuti is actually what drew me to this knife. I have never seen a knife for 135 bucks with Mokuti. Never, ever, ever have I ever seen a knife for that much money, or for that little money, with Mokuti, with titanium, with an awesome finish job, and with S35vn for that price. The value for this knife is absolutely outstanding. Let's talk about some other things we got going on. The centering is dead perfect. It is absolutely perfect. And you can also see, now's a good time to talk about, that's a thick blade. I'm not going to say that's a good thing or a bad thing. Depending on your uses, you might like it, you might hate it. That's a thick blade. And it doesn't really come to a particularly fine edge. But, you know, it's meaty. It's a meaty blade. You know that going in. Centering, dead nuts. Absolutely perfect. The action is just amazing. This thing almost drops shut with no effort whatsoever, right? And I have actually tightened this, or I'm sorry, I have loosened the pivot just barely. You can just barely loosen this pivot, and it will actually gravity shut for you. There's a video on my Instagram of me doing that. I don't like to keep my knives that loose, but for those of you who actually like a gravity fall shut knife, this one will do it for you. And part of it is because of the awesome action, but part of it is also because of that fat blade that we just took a look at. It's a heavy blade. It's gonna drop shut at some point. Other things, the thumb stud, I think it's beautiful. You know, normally I'm not a guy who's really into pink, but I think it goes really well with the Mokuti. And it goes well with the blue. I think it gave this knife something else. And that's really what I look for when I buy knives nowadays. I'm looking for something different. I don't want the same exact knife in a different color. I feel like so many manufacturers pump out knives that are just the same thing over and over and over again. There's nothing unique about them. CH knives, this knife in particular, but if you look at the rest of their lineup, they do a lot of things that are very interesting, very unique, while still being practical, while having a high quality build and being made with high quality materials. It's crazy the prices that you can get these knives at with the build quality. I mean, the screws are flush everywhere. You've got this beautiful backspacer. It says Emperor on it. The pocket clip, it's awesome. It's not super deep carry, but it is recessed in there. You can get all the way up there in your pocket if that's what you're into. I mean, this knife is just so awesome. And, you know, for the price of 135 bucks, the materials that you're getting, the action, the centering, and by the way, it was that way out of the box. I didn't have to do anything to this knife. I am very impressed with CH Knives. I'm very impressed with the rest of what their lineup looks like. They've got nothing but good reviews online, even though not that many people seem to be talking about them. They're putting out some really cool stuff, and this is definitely a knife. I mean, even just the finish on this thing. The edges are chamfered, so it's not uncomfortable in your hand. There's just nothing that I have to say bad about this knife. It is drop dead gorgeous. It's nice and thick. It's durable. I would totally use this as a self-defense knife. I totally trust the thickness of this knife if that's what I had to do. The action, it deploys 100% every time. I can't say enough good things about CH Knives at this point from what I've seen. Also, it comes in this box. You know, nothing too crazy, but I will give them that. I mean, it's a cool box. Right? Even the box is kind of cool. You got this iridescent CH on there. It's got all these symbols on there. I don't know what any of that means, but it's just nice. They send it to you with nice presentation. It's a great value at a great price point. Won't break the bank. And it's got the aesthetics and the build of a $300 knife. It's just absolutely ridiculous what you're getting for the price. So I hope you guys found this useful. My gosh, look at their stuff. You know, A lot of people, they get freaked out by, oh, it's a knife that's made in China. That doesn't mean anything anymore, guys. China's putting out some amazing knives, and these knives are absolutely no different. I would recommend these knives to anyone, any day of the week. So, hope you found that useful. Hope you got something out of this, and I'll see you guys next month for the next knife.